The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Off in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast, recording this late Wednesday night, February 11th, 2025. How am I fumbling my words today? I don't know if I'm doing that. Anyway, here with DJ Minter, 1/3 Mindless Podcast, and also now the host of his new podcast, 30 Mindless Minutes. I love that show for the record. I really enjoyed it. What's up, buddy?
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you. Man, I'm good. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for being one of my first guests on that. Jax, I think you were my first guest. I
think you did a solo episode to start.
I did.
Right? It's kind of laying on the foundation, the mission statement of the show, and then you had me on there, and we were talking already about doing stuff together, a conversation about stuff here. Look, we have. I just have structure for this show to do with you today, but there's so much things I want to touch on with you. I figured, let's have about why don't we conversation, and we'll just touch on those things when we touch on those things. So
sure. But
talking about diabetes and talking about like health and all stuff, and that triggered that, and then you were doing that on top of that also too. So we figured, we'll do home and home, which is very very common on this show. First off, you were on a cruise last week, right? You said
2 weeks ago.
How was that, man?
Oh my God, dude. Let me lay the foundation. My girl and I, and this is another thing that EJ will be talking about tonight because we share a love for hard rock and heavy metal music.
Absolutely.
My girlfriend and I, we love to go to rock festivals, and we've gone this year will be our 5th year going to Welcome to Rockville and Daytona.
Right.
And there's a bit of a story, and she and I talked about this on 30 Mindless Minutes as to how we got to this cruise, but it was basically a hard rock festival on a ship. It's called ShipRocked. And, we literally, the Facebook algorithm does its thing. She and I were having a conversation, and she's like, wouldn't it be cool if they did, like a rock festival on a boat? And of course, Facebook is always listening. Within like 24 hours, she's sending me a link to this thing called ShipRocked. We talked about it.
By the way, that's just scary. The algorithm thing is real because I'll say, what was I talking about the other day? Randomly. Oh, yeah. We had to go catch a vet a couple days ago. And we had mentioned, care credit, some of that. I don't know where I'm getting care credit ads now on my social medias. I think I didn't put anything in the computer about care credit.
Little side quest here. Let me tell you about the algorithm as you give these examples, and then we can move back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, my aunt messaged me, said, "Hey, you want to meet up for breakfast?" I said, "Sure." She's like, "I've got a new boyfriend," because her husband had passed away about 5-6 years ago. She's like, "I got a new boyfriend. I'd like you to meet him." I was like, "Okay, yeah." So Tina and I packed up. We went over and had breakfast with her. We met them. We had a lovely time, wonderful time. Very nice guy. He has a stutter. It's pretty significant. It's a pretty pronounced stutter.
Right.
So we had breakfast and everything. We left. We're driving home. I'm dicking around on my phone, looking on Facebook, and I've got ad after ad for speech therapy for stuttering. And I have never looked up speech therapy for anything. We didn't talk about his stutter. Mm-hmm. He just stuttered in conversation. And this shit came up on the algorithm. It's literally that
insane.
So it's crazy.
Insane.
Crazy, man.
Unbelievable. All right, back to the story, the ShipRocked story.
The ShipRocked story. It was 6 days on a ship it was a chartered cruise. It was a separate company that chartered this through Carnival Cruise Lines. And some of the bands that were on there, Hailstorm, which is hers and mine's favorite band, they headlined the whole thing. Avatar, which even though they've been around for 20-something years, I've only been really seriously introduced to their music in about the last 5 to 10. Love Avatar. Falling in Reverse, Knocked Loose. There were a few smaller bands that I hadn't heard of before. A couple of girls in a band called Pretty Wild, which were a lot of fun. Another band called Holy Wars. Wage War was on there. What the hell was their names? Robert Trujillo used to play bass for him. Come on, give it to me. Suicidal Tendencies.
Who I saw, by the way, with Metallica last year in Tampa.
Yeah.
Rob's son plays in that band right now, currently.
Yeah, his son plays the bass.
Yes.
Let me tell you a little something about Suicidal. I've never been – their music just never did it for me. Like, I can appreciate the craftsmanship. Let me fucking tell you something about their live show, man. They fucking killed it. Like, they're nobody. I've ever been a fan of their music, but their live set – dude, they were badass. I enjoyed the hell out of Suicidal.
That's interesting. So I've never really gotten into the music. Not saying I don't like it. I just never really gone my way to listen to them. Although I've heard about them for years. So honestly, me seeing them live last year as one of the openers for Metallica was actually the first time I actually spent more than 20 minutes on the discography and live. And it's pretty good stuff. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
They've got some really good stuff, and I was really impressed. I would say we probably saw over the course of the weekend probably 20, 25, or not the weekend, but the whole week. It was like I said, it was 6 days. We probably saw close to 20 bands. It was like 3 to 4 every day, and then there was like one day where there was only like 1 or 2 that we wanted to see. Really, really cool. We did 4 meet and greets. We met Hailstorm. We met the Pretty Wild. We met Holy War, or not Holy. Was Holy War? Yeah, Holy Wars.
Did it cost you anything to do that stuff? Did it cost you extra to do that?
No, the meet and greets were free. Now, the website, the company will be posting the pictures on their website. I don't know if we'll have to pay for the pictures. I don't know that part yet. They haven't advertised anything about that. Just they're saying that they will as they get things, because they're actually putting a little YouTube movie together about the cruise. Like, there's a whole production with this whole thing. Another band we met is a band called Shepherd's Reign, and this is a little small story here because this was pretty cool. Shepherd's Reign is a band. They're from New Zealand. They're Samoan, and
really?
They got dude, they're fucking awesome. They've got a really, really good sound. I really, really like them, but we've only been introduced to them. Tina pulled up the ShipRocked official Spotify playlist. So we were listening to the bands to listen to some stuff we'd never heard before to determine who we wanted to see. Right. And these guys' music came up on the playlist. I'm like, I really like these guys. I want to see these guys play live. So we were like, okay, we're going to go see them. And most of the bands played on the ship. Like, they had an upper deck, like on the main deck, they had a stage set up there. And then they had like 4 or 5 clubs and then like a main theater down below that they had bands playing in and rotating out.
Right.
Shepherd's Reign was one of 2 or 3 bands that were actually playing on the beach on one of the ports of call. So we were like, okay, we'll get off the ship and we'll go check out Shepherd's Reign because, we want to hear them, want to see them.
Right.
And so Sunday we launched. Monday, I got up early and went in the gym. Because I wanted to work out. I wanted to keep my fitness and my car, everything kind of up.
And there's a gym on the ship, of course, right?
Yeah, there's a gym on the ship. It's kind of small, but it had everything that I needed to do a basic workout, do what I needed to do. So I get in there and I'm working out, and there are these dudes, and I immediately recognize them as Shepherd's Reign. But you don't want to be awkward and say anything because I'm like, they're in the gym and there's that gym bro mentality.
Totally get it.
Because sometimes I'm like that. If I'm in the gym and I'm dialed in, I don't want to be a dick. Don't fucking talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm lifting, I'm doing my things, and it's like 4 or 5 of those guys are in there, and the one guy's doing his lift, and because I'm a little older and I've got a little bit of arthritis in the hands, as I'm in between my sets, I'm kind of rubbing my hands and doing this, and the one kid kind of looks at me and says, "Hey man, are your hands all right?" And I'm like, I'm good. I'm getting older. I got a little bit of arthritis and, the grip. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, my hands are doing this and everything. He's like, so do you play? And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, I've played a little bit of bass in my lifetime. I was like, I'm not great. I'd like to be a little better. He's like, wouldn't we all? So at this point, I'm like, all right, let me go ahead and just break the ice on this. Like, okay, so obviously you guys play with a band. Which band do you guys? And he's like, we're Shepherd's Reign. I'm like, no shit. And then this other kid starts talking to me. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, my name's Corey. I'm the drummer. Got his whole backstory. Like he opens up, starts talking to me, and we just started talking gym stuff and music, and worked out a little bit with those guys. And they were like, "Yeah, we're going to be on the beach tomorrow." I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to come see you guys. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it." And so we went on about their business that night, and then the next day they were playing at 11. The night before, we start looking at the app because with the first island we went to, they don't have a pier or a dock. So they're shuttling people over by small boats to the island. And there's only so many shuttles, and only so many shuttles hold so many people.
Right.
Well, all the shuttles were locked out until like 11:30. And it takes like 25, 30 minutes to get to the island from the ship. And I'm like, fuck, we're going to miss their whole set. So we ended up not seeing Shepherd's Reign, which is hugely disappointing just because we couldn't get off the ship. So this is where it gets good. They had a meet and greet. So I'm like, let's go to the fucking meet and greet because I want to meet these guys. I want to hang out with these guys and let them know, hey, I've heard your music. I appreciate the fuck out of you. So we get in there and we're waiting in line. We get all the way up there and they're shit-faced, man. Like they've been partying all day. This is probably late afternoon. They're shit-faced. They're doing the thing, taking the pictures and everything. And we're like, shaking hands and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden one guy looks at me and goes, "Jim Bro." It's like, yeah, man. He's like, "It's Jim Bro." I'm like, Jim yeah, Bro. Man. Oh, so we got pictures with them, which was super cool. I did meet Corey the next day in the gym, and he and I talked again a little bit, but that was super cool. But the nice thing about the cruise was you had a little bit of access to the bands because a lot of the bands were just walking around on the ship. They had an area that they could retire to if they wanted to get away from the, hey, can you sign this? Hey, blah, 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 all the hustle muscle. But there were a lot of people, like we saw Johannes from Avatar, the lead singer, walking in to get his breakfast. And we just kind of did the nod. Hey, I know who you are, but I'm not going to bother you because it's 8 o'clock in the morning. You're probably hungry and want coffee.
Yes, exactly. I'm still a human being. I still got to function.
Still a human being. You go do your thing. I know who you are. I've acknowledged you. Have a good day. We bumped into the lead singer for Holy Wars. She was super cool. There were a few other people that we kind of ran into here and there, but the whole thing was just super, super freaking cool, man. The whole experience, the camaraderie of the people on this thing, because some of these people have been doing this every year for more than 10 years. Like this thing has been going on for 16 years, and they had people celebrating 3, 6, 8, 10, 12 years on this thing. And some of these people, this is the only time, it's like a family fucking reunion. They get on there and they all hang out and they do their thing. And it was like, really, it was different than Rockville. Like Welcome to Rockville is a good time, and it's very communal because you know how metalheads and rock festivals are. But this was just different. It was really very much like a family reunion of people who have been doing this every year. And they have their own code, their own language, metaphorically speaking, their own code, their own language. It's just really, really awesome experience. And it's something that it was not a cheap date for us. It was not. And we have some other big vacations that we want to take in the next 2 to 4 years. So it's likely we're not going to do this again anytime in the near future.
I was going to ask you that. You doing this next year or next 2 years?
It's probably not going to be. If we do it again, it probably won't be for 3 or 4 years because 28 we want to go to the UK. And that's not a cheap vacation.
Of course. Yeah.
If money were no object though, I would book it every year. I would go back every year for the foreseeable future. I had that good of a time.
Do you guys book one vacation a year, like one big vacation a year?
We usually do one a year. This year we've got another big one. We've got a cruise with my daughter in October.
Okay.
We're going to take 27 off because it's not just money, it's vacation time. I only get so much vacation time every year, so I can roll over a certain amount.
Right.
But if we go to Ireland, Scotland, we're going to have to take 2 full weeks. And it's going to take me a full year to accumulate 2 weeks vacation. And I may even have to roll over some time. So we're going to take 27 off. We're not going to take any big things. We may do like a weekend in Vegas But yeah, the ShipRocked thing, man, like you said, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would just fucking book it every year. It was that good.
Well, the cool thing for you now is that you're empty nester, so you can do all these things a little bit easier. Now, when you weren't that way, did you still take vacays, or you were just locked in to dad?
We were just kind of locked in. We would do like little weekend things, you know.
I
it was still me and my ex-wife. When it was still me and my ex-wife, we would take like we booked, just threw the kids in the car on like a Friday morning and went up to Tennessee for the weekend. When Tina and I got together after my divorce and everything, we would do trips to like Disney, or when Wet and Wild was still a thing, or we would go camping for the weekend. Those ended up being our vacations. But yeah, now that I'm an empty nester, we can start doing these actual vacations,
more elaborate vacations. It's funny. I can't relate to you yet because I'm still in the trenches right now with my two. Look, my kids right now, they'll be 13 and 9 in April. I say that both because they're both born the same week. So you know, and you know this too. When you're a parent, like the first couple of years, you're locked in. You're like, it's everything's about the kid. It's about, you got no time. Any minute you get to yourself, any hour to yourself, you value it, right? And then as they get older, you know, they go from, you know, not being able to talk to now they're Google Gaga. Now they're able to talk back a little bit. You get a little bit of time here. Then they start school. Then you get more time to yourself. For me, it's different because like my job isn't like the typical 9-to-5 job. So there are days where I'm actually home. Even today, I'm home on a weekday, and the house is empty for 3-4 hours. Like my wife has gone to work, my kids are at school. The world's my oyster. I could rock and roll. I can read. I could watch content. I could record content. You know, and you start seeing, like, noticing things. Like you start noticing the appreciation of time as they get older and older and older. Now, I couldn't fathom, not even 5 years ago, I could not fathom be pretty much being able to do podcasts whenever I want to. That's not to say that I can, but there was the time allotted me to record podcasts now compared to like 5 years ago and beyond is night and day. It's night and day. Oh,
absolutely. You know?
And so
that being said, you know, also cherish every moment with those kids, because you're gonna, dude, I swear to you, as a father of twins, they are going to be 20, 21 years old before you're going to blink and it's going to be gone,
I was just telling my friend of mine like a couple of days ago, like I'm like literally like knocking myself in the head because I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be a father of a teenager in like 2 months.
Yeah,
and like
it happens quick.
And it's like, dude, we just became parents like literally a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
it's insane. You know how time flies, and when you're locked in. And the point I made about this because we did the same thing too. My wife and I, we did, if we even had a chance, we do like a two-day getaway here, or whatever. Nothing more than 2-3 days. So we never vacation. We never really vacation much as parents, and we can't afford it. Number one, because it's tough. It's a lot of fucking money, and also if I want a vacation, I want a vacation with my wife alone, because I don't. The kids are not going to be able to appreciate that at this age. So we've started now last year, where we're kind of committing now to doing this once a year now. My wife has been dying to go to New York for years. I'm born there, so this doesn't have the same effect on me because I was born there, I was kind of raised there, and I've gone every so often. She's never gone there before. And I told you we went to New York last August mainly to go see System of a Down and Korn in concert.
Right.
I met Life. So we made it a bit of a trip. It was the first trip we've done as parents in 13 years, where we were away from our kids for more than one day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane. And she, of course, all her New York dreams that she had came true. She was happy. She loved it. She's going again in a couple of weeks, actually, with one of her girlfriends. But what we're doing now is we're starting to prioritize the idea of making New York our place to go just for a weekend. Pick one weekend a year, just her and I, whatever, maybe a friend or two come with us to vibe, and just go to New York for a couple of days. That's like a little getaway away from the world. And so, but my point is, I'm starting to finally see the time to do these kind of things now. Little vacation times, a little bit, because the kids getting older now, you know. So they're able to function a little more. So I can somewhat relate to your journey. So now you're able to like go to freaking Europe and want to for 2 weeks because you know your kids are older now. So
yeah, kids are kind of doing their thing. Yeah, it was a long road to get there, and you know it's not always easy, but it's taken some getting used to be like, I have free time. Like I have days of free time.
Yeah. So, you know, I came on your podcast a couple of weeks ago,
Right.
And the reason I came on there is because you want to talk about specifically about type 2 diabetes. Now everybody knows this podcast for the last 3 years. I've been diagnosed 3 anniversary actually this month. And you had told me last year that you would also were type 2 diabetic, and which I told you again, it shocked me because you look the way you look, you wouldn't even think that. And plus, right. you say you do work out, you eat pretty decently, and it's kind of strange. But we did the podcast a couple weeks ago. I want to ask you, because we'll obviously unpack some stuff here in a second. You go on that cruise because you've been strict since you found out your diagnosis a couple months ago. But you went on a cruise a couple weeks, and you know when you go on a cruise, you have to have some fun. I'm sorry, now you're not going to eat the way you normally eat at home. How was that for you, man?
It was refreshing. I will say that for the first, so we left on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and almost Wednesday, I was tight. I prioritized with my diet. I prioritized protein, fiber, kept the carbs low. Right. I was like very, very little. I'm like, I'm going to be good on this. Had a couple little sweet things, but the nice thing was, and they surprisingly weren't bad, and we can talk about this in a minute, they had some sugar-free desserts that actually were rather tasty on the ship. They had a couple sugar-free dessert options. So that was kind of nice. Took some of that. I did have like some regular dessert, or I would have a piece of little French toast in the morning with just a slight, I'd get like syrup and just like kind of dip it in there a little bit without going super crazy on it.
Did they have the sugar-free syrup there?
They did, but dude, there are just some things I can't. If I'm going to have syrup, I'm just going to have real fucking syrup. And I don't do it often.
It's not too bad, actually. The sugar's
yeah.
But I will say, I had pancakes like a couple weeks ago, and then for some reason that day, I didn't want the sugar-free syrup. I just put the regular one. It's like, I need some taste.
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't eat a lot of syrup normally anyway, so.
See, I don't either.
There you go. So if I'm going to do it the one time, this burn it will be done.
So I was really good until like Wednesday, and I even checked. I was checking my blood sugar. I kept everything up. I worked out on Monday. I worked out on Wednesday. Didn't drink a whole lot. One, because it was expensive to drink, and two, we just didn't want to get shit faced. I wanted to look at the show. I came here to listen to music and enjoy myself. And
taking the experience, of course. Yeah,
taking the experience. Some of these people, I don't know how they remembered anything. Like you spent thousands and thousands of dollars to go on this, and I bet you don't remember 20 minutes of it. It's insane to me. So by Wednesday, though, I was like, you know what? I'm on fucking vacation. I have been grinding for 6 months. I literally went from a 9.5 A1C in July of 2025 to the week before we went on our cruise. My A1C was 5.7. I was like, then that was strict diet, strict exercise, and taking my medication. I dropped it almost 4 full points in less than 6 months. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy myself on this cruise. So by Wednesday, I started to loosen up a little bit, had some pizza, like real pizza, not cauliflower crust pizza, had real desserts. Like at one point, she and I got a little dessert sampler plate, and we just kind of picked off everything. But beyond that, I did try.
We didn't go crazy though, right? You had those stuff, but you had a pizza. You didn't have like 6 or 7 slices of pizza. You know what I'm saying?
No. I had 2 slices of pizza. They weren't big like New York slices. They were like little, reasonable slices. I did have a little bit of macaroni and cheese, a little bit of mashed potatoes, and I would have like some French toast or something in the morning. But I prioritized the protein with the eggs. Meats, they had salmon options. Like I had healthier options and I would eat those, but I splurged a little bit and treated myself within reason without going completely.
What I used to do when I first started this journey a couple years ago, when I started to learn how the blood sugar works and how it rises and at what point does it hit your arteries and all that stuff. But they say if you walk literally 15 minutes after you have whatever food you had, it will offset the spike. In fact,
it does.
It's true, because what I did one time when I used to wear the little patch, what I would do is I would eat, and I know what I would eat was like heavy carb. Yeah. But what I would do is I'd go outside in 15 minutes after I finish eating, go outside, go for a walk. And what happened, one thing I noticed one time, I was walking, and you can see the spike in real time. You can check it in real time.
Yeah.
You can see the spike, right? And it's rising, right? And then about 10 minutes of my walk, I'll start checking it while I'm walking, and because by the way, it responds in real time. It starts to stabilize. Like it'll go up and it will stabilize, and stabilize, and stabilize, and sometimes it'll go down.
Yeah,
that's the walking. So what I used to do, I call it punishment. I would, if I want to eat like shit, I would punish myself and go for like 50-minute walk. Just burn off.
Yeah,
and you get steps. And why you get steps in too also on top of that. So
yeah. It's the general rule of thumb with me is about I haven't been able to work out since I've been off the cruise because Tina and I both got sicker than hell. She worse than I did. But
on this trip?
Well, I don't know if we got it off the ship or it came after the fact, but Let's see. We got home on Saturday. Sunday, Monday wasn't too bad. By Tuesday, she was feeling like crap. By Friday, she was miserable. I started feeling it late Friday. Mm-hmm. Saturday, I started really feeling like crap. Sunday, I was like, this is no good. And I took Monday off from work. I'm still coming up on the tail end of it. I think I'm turning the corner on it, but I just have not had the energy to work out. I did 2 treadmill sessions last Monday and Tuesday. Mm-hmm. But what I'm finding is for me, the sweet spot is 30 minutes on an incline at about 3.8 speed. And for me, that is keeping and it's still eating within reason. When I'm doing that on a regular basis, my fasting blood sugars in the morning are between 95 and 105.
That's excellent. That's where you need to be.
Then my post-meal blood sugars are between 120 and 135.
Like an hour after, 2 hours after?
About 2 hours after. Right. It's anywhere between, and sometimes lower if I just have like a salad or if I don't have any real carbs or anything like that, it'll be lower. And so the proof positive, the diet and the exercise works. And I realize that there are some people that may hear this and go, well, because everybody's diabetes is different. Type 2 diabetes is fairly straightforward in how you can treat it and, what you can do. But, like I talk to people all the time who have injuries or who are elderly and can't exercise at the same level that you or I do. You may be a little more limited, and then there you have to rely on the medications and other things. But for those of us that are still young enough and able-bodied enough, I cannot stress enough how important the exercise is. And if you start it young enough, you can do it when you're older, and it'll keep you from becoming a frail older person because you're keeping the strength in the body, you're keeping the muscles active. It's in so many different ways I preach, exercise and working out.
You're also, too, when you work out, whether it's walking, running, or something you and I definitely have to really start talking about a lot is strength training because it's very important as you get older. It opens your arteries.
Yeah,
it opens the arteries when it's pumping. It's opening the arteries, and you want that. You want those walls to be open so things flow. Because that's how you avoid a stroke. See, all these things which sound like common sense to me, and they are common sense. 3 years ago, it was foreign to me. I just lived. I was like, okay, well, I'm okay. I know eating healthy is important. What do you eat? But all these like what an A1C was. I had no fucking clue what A1C was till 3 years ago. Blood sugar, glucose. How does it work? What numbers need to be? That was all foreign to me until 3 years ago, man. So it's all about knowing.
Yeah. See, I've spent better part of the last 3 decades in healthcare. I knew better. I knew better, and I
tell me this though. How do you? Okay, because you've never been overweight. You're a very active guy. You were in pro wrestling. You were in wrestling for a long time and all that stuff. So you were active, and now you always say you took care of yourself. So how the fuck did you get from all of a sudden nowhere? A 9.4 you said?
9.5 was my A1C in July.
How does that happen?
So I have a theory, but I also have to be honest on a couple things. One, and we talked about this on my podcast,
right.
The family history is strong on both sides. Diabetes killed my mom's dad in his early 60s. I think he was 60. He may have been 65, 66. He died on his birthday.
Was he treating it, or did he just let it whatever?
No, he was horribly we're going back to the 80s, dude. The education was not there.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, the options, the education, the medication, it was insulin and eat right, But he had his first heart attack in his 40s, which always terrified me. Like, the man was never healthy. He was I remember as a kid him being in one of those motorized carts. And he could have been that old. Like I said, he couldn't have been 50. because he was, like, say, he was in his 40s when I was born, and he had his first heart attack like the day before I was born, literally, as my mom told the story. So the man was never healthy, and a lot of it was diabetic related. And I don't know how well he took care of it, because again, you're a little kid. That generation didn't really talk about their health. I do remember him checking his blood sugars, and I remember even then having a huge fear of needles, going, I never want that to be me. So I was always terrified of diabetes. I was always, I ate like any 20-something-year-old would, and God knows I partied in my early 20s. I probably drank enough alcohol.
And drinking helps you also.
No, it's not healthy, and I used to like rum and Coke. Rum and Coke is probably the worst, because rum is fucking sugar cane, and then
the Coke, of course, is added sugar.
And I didn't just drink one. So that was my 20s. So, yeah, but then again, we're indestructible at that age, EJ.
Yeah.
When we two things: one, we're indestructible, and two, I've got time. I've got plenty of time. And there reaches a point after your 30s and you're getting into your 40s where you may still maintain that lifestyle, but then your mentality is like, well, I'll just exercise it off. I'll just work it off. But the thing you don't take into consideration is that your metabolism starts to slow down. So the exercise that you're doing that may have burnt it off when you were 20 to 26, 27 years old, when you're 37 years old going into 40, it's not burning it off like it used to. And these things are starting to accumulate. Decades of, up and down lifestyle eventually takes its toll. Family history takes its toll.
Now you're scaring me now.
Dude, I'm trying to. This is what you have, scared straight. This is what they call it. Yeah. I do have a theory. I got COVID about 26. So April of this year will be 4 years ago. I got COVID.
2022.
After COVID, I never felt right. Like I was working out regular. Like I was going hard in the gym. I was pretty fit. I got COVID and I couldn't do anything. Yeah. Like nothing. And like I had no strength. I had no stamina. I had nothing for months and months and months. I don't think I ever really came out of that. COVID has certain the way it attacks the body, it can cause inflammation in certain areas. I'm not entirely sure. I'm somewhat convinced that it may have attacked my pancreas, that my pancreas may have been affected. So I think this may all be tying together to, again, keeping it honest, decades of up and down lifestyle, and just, the COVID, and then just finally being a 50-year-old man, and going on 52 years old at that point. My body is just finally like, sir, you got to start making some changes, or else you are not going to live to see 70. And that's terrifying.
But you weren't eating that bad recently, were you?
No, I wasn't eating bad. No, our diet was always balanced. But, dude, if I have mac and cheese, I'm going to eat some mac and cheese. I'm not going to have like a little portion of mac and cheese. I'm going to have a big-ass portion. And then we kind of started to indulge a little bit on sweets. I had the worst sweet tooth known to man. Like that is really my biggest Achilles heel. And that's been the biggest fight for me since I started all this, is not just having a ton of sweets. I've managed to moderate it. And luckily you and I are in a day and age where the sweet substitutes are much better than they were 25, 30 years ago.
Oh my God, yes. Like even with sodas, because I'm convinced that what got me here was my love of sodas.
Yeah, that's very realistic.
I would drink sodas like water. Like I have liters of in my fridge. That's another world now. I haven't had that in my fridge in like 3 or 4 years. But I have sodas in my fridge, and a liter or two will be gone within the first 2 days. Yeah. So I drink and then I go to work and have free sodas, and it's not good for you, man. And I know it wasn't good for me, but I know what to do. And I'm convinced sodas got me here. So I mentioned sodas because of the fact that, and look, I still drink sodas once in a blue moon. I drink as a treat though. When I go to dinner, like tomorrow night, I'm gonna go to dinner with my wife and some friends for birthday. We're gonna go to my friend's birthday, and I may get a soda. I may get one glass of soda. And that's it. But that's it. Coke Zero is kind of a lifesaver for me. Because I love cherry cola. Yeah. The cherry Coke Zero is as good, if not, it could argue better than the regular one. So so to your point about replacements, I found that in some of the other like addictions I had with food, and one being sodas. So I found some replacements also with that. So
I was never a huge soda. Like as a kid, I was a big soda drinker. I've been hit or miss with soda over the years. I'd say in the last 10 years, I really, once in a blue moon, if Tina and I were out, we would get a soda and we would split it. What we did do is we found these Walmart brand cream sodas. And not that I was drinking several a day. I'd have like one every couple of days.
Right.
But she bought me an ice cream maker for Father's Day last year. And I think, like I said, we were already headed down this road. But I think the 9.5 A1C, because like when I got my labs done, I knew something was up and I expected my A1C to be around 7. I'm like, I know I'm at least borderline. I know it's coming. When it hit me with the 9.5, I'm like, holy fucking shit. And I do believe that because I was a regular user of that thing, and she got me that. And I was like a kid at Christmas. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, because I love some ice cream. As far as the soda options, I tried a Coke Zero on the cruise. I got about 3 sips in. I'm like, babe, I can't do this. So I will probably be very happy not having soda at all. The things that I found, and I wish I'd grabbed the packaging because I would love to share it, even though it's free product advertisement. I love Reese's peanut butter cups. Like if I were to eat any candy, those would be the things that I would sit here and gorge on.
Okay.
I found in the keto section in Walmart a brand they're basically peanut butter cups, but they're high protein, low carb, low sugar. Dude, they're fucking awesome. They're so good. They're so good. Like, and I call them my treats. I don't have them daily. I like once a week. I'll allow it to come in a little toast, just like a Reese's peanut butter cup 2-pack thing. And about once a week, I'll treat myself if I've been good, and I'll have a treat, and I'll have one of those. They've also got some cookies, which are pretty good, some brownies, which are okay-ish. The cookies were really tasty. I just had one of those last night. But the options, because I don't like traditionally called NutraSweet, whatever they used to put in Diet Coke back in the 80s and the 90s. And so the artificial sweetener options that are available to us now taste so much better than they did, when my grandfather was still around.
Right.
And so we're not that there's a great time to get diabetes, but for people like us who are very diligent about it and who are trying actively to find alternatives, there are some great alternatives out there if you want to splurge, if you want to treat yourself without absolutely wrecking everything that you're trying to do.
Right. So how was your nutrition then? Like, okay, so give me a comparison to what your daily intake of food between breakfast and lunch and dinner before the diagnosis, and then now what is after the diagnosis. What shifted?
So my breakfast has been the same for years. Like breakfast was never my issue.
Eggs, right?
It's primarily eggs. I'll eat the shit out of some eggs. It was basically eggs by themselves or an omelet. And it was usually a mix of like eggs and egg whites. Now I've recently done a little bit more research on eggs, and there's new schools of thought and new research that suggests that eggs don't have as negative of an entire egg having much of a negative effect on your cholesterol as they thought it did in the 80s and 90s.
No, that's changed too. A lot of this language has changed through the years. Man.
It really is, because for the longest time they're like, don't eat full eggs, limit your eggs because eggs will cause your cholesterol. But for a long time it was like 4 or 5 egg whites and then 1 full egg. I would make an omelet. Now it's like 4 to 5 full eggs. I'll eat the eggs as scrambled, or I'll eat them as an omelet. Turkey sauce, a couple links of turkey sausage, again, prioritizing protein, with a little bit of fat in the sausage, because you need a little bit of fat.
Fat's good. Fat's good for you, by the way.
Fat is good. Fat is good. And then I make a breakfast porridge that has steel-cut oats, quinoa, walnuts, chia seeds, flaxseed, and then you kind of slow cook it. You put it in the crock pot, and you mix it with almond milk, and you let it slow cook all day, and I'll portion that out. I've been doing that for years, so breakfast was never my problem. But sometimes at lunch, I'd go and I'd run over to Chick-fil-A and get chicken tenders and French fries and a Coke or a sweet tea or something, because I love sweet tea. So I would do that, or I'd go down to the cafeteria or something and they'd get a cheeseburger. And so it was these little things were adding up. Or we love Culver's. We go to Culver's once a week. and have a burger and cheese curds and their frozen custard and things like that. So, that was my diet beforehand. Now I've cut all that out. Now I prioritize protein. Tina's found some keto-friendly recipes. She's done some really, like night before last, we had white bean chicken chili for dinner. Very low carb option.
Is she on this journey with you also too?
She's on it-ish. She still indulges in her sweets. She still has her things that she likes. Right. She's slowly, but she'll eat what I eat. Like we don't make separate food for her and separate food for me. Mm-hmm. We make a meal. Like now, instead of ordering out for pizza, we'll get these cauliflower cheese crust or these cauliflower crust pizzas, which are lower carb, and make homemade pizzas out of those, which are pretty tasty. And I only do the pre-made because I've tried making homemade cauliflower crust and it's a pain in the ass. So it's literally hours worth of work, and I don't have that kind of time. So for a convenience meal that's relatively healthy, we'll do that. So it was cutting out all the bad carbs, cutting out macaroni and cheese, 3 or 4. I still eat mac and cheese, but it's like once every 2 weeks instead of 2 or 3 nights a week because we both work and it's easy to make mac and cheese.
My 12-year-old's obsessed with mac and cheese, so every once in a while I'll dip a little bit. Like I had like a little bit tonight. I didn't have a whole bowl. I had like a couple bites, and then I was good. Yeah, and it actually filled me up. Now the nutrition part for me, this process is the hardest. Like the working out for me, outside of being consistent, I do enjoy working out. I found ways to kind of merge my passions. Like I love listening to content on a daily basis, podcasts and videos. So what I do now is I merge it now with, I can do both. I can work out, where's the gym, do my 2-mile walk a day, which I do every day. Yeah. And just and knock up some of those podcasts while I'm walking and working out. 2 birds, 1 stone, So it's I say that because the nutrition part is the hardest for me. I love carbs. Like I have a sweet tooth to a point, but like I can have a donut and not have one for like another 2 months. I'm one of those. Yeah. It's just if I'm in a mood for something like in the moment and know I'm not gonna buy it again for a long time, I'm just gonna do it. Like I love chocolate cookies, but I haven't had a cookie in about 2-3 weeks. Yeah. So I think I have to balance down a little bit now. I think my biggest issue is the daily nutrition, because my latest thing for me that's been hard to stop is I love eating bagels in the morning. Bagels are bad.
Bagels are bad. Breads for me, I've noticed bread like of any kind, except for like, again, I found a keto-friendly bread that's higher in seeds and things like that, lower in carbs. But just like regular bread, rolls, regular pizza crust.
I love rolls, love pizza crust.
I had, when we went on the cruise, the night before we stayed with her sister, actually close, we were in your neck of the woods. We were down there near Homestead, I think. And
you passed me. I'm in Palm Beach. I'm actually closer than you realize.
She's actually in Margate. They're in Margate.
Okay, that's like not too far.
So we stayed in Margate. On the way to their house, we were like, we need food, so we grabbed Chick-fil-A. And my inner fat kid was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm starving and I want something completely unhealthy. And I had 2 Chick-fil-A sandwiches and some fries. And I checked my blood sugar 2 hours later, and the shit was 180. I'm like, God damn it.
That's not, but 180 that's not terrible though.
It's not terrible, but I have put a ceiling. I have a ceiling for myself of about 150 is my ceiling where I want my post-meal blood sugar to be.
You're strict.
I'm that strict with it. So when it hit 180, I was like, well, fuck, I guess we're not doing Chick-fil-A again anytime soon. So
what if you had taken off the bread? Like, have you gotten like the grilled chicken without the bread?
See, I don't like the grilled chicken. If I'm going to get Chick-fil-A, I'm going to get the crispy chicken nuggets or the crispy chicken sandwich. I probably could have done it without the bread, and it probably would have knocked me down. I probably would have topped out at about 160, which would have been not even more tolerable.
Because there's no carb really. The meat is not going to
the sugar. Breading has a little bit of carb. Yeah, if you're doing the breading on the crispy part. Yeah, and the fries are no help.
Yeah, I actually started to phase out fries a little bit. Only if I'm eating like a random place that has steak fries. I'm gonna get steak fries. I love steak fries. Yeah. So, but I've started now to phase out fries, little by little. It's hard to go completely, but at least I now I'm trying to get used to it. If I go to order a burger somewhere, for example, I try not to get fries with it. I try to get something else with it. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It's a challenge. The nutrition is hard for me. Breakfast, like if I wish I could just eat eggs and bacon without bread alone and be done with it. But they say also too, what you do then is just eat one slice, not two.
Yeah, and again, it's in moderation. Like I said, I'll have, the what was it that I was eating the other day, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to think of what it was. It was something, and I was like, I can just have one of these. I got these. Again, everybody in my office knows I'm diabetic. And what do they buy you for Christmas? They buy you a box of fucking chocolates. Mm-hmm. So it's been sitting there since Christmas, like 2 weeks before Christmas. I finally peeled open a box the other day, and I had just one, and it was perfectly fine. It didn't really mess with anything very much. And it's the same thing with bread. Like when I was having regular toast for breakfast, I would have a couple of slices of toast with butter. And now I'm like, no, can't do that. But bread was pretty easy for me to cut out. For as much of a bread fiend as I used to be, that one was easy to cut out. Sodas are easy to cut out. For me, it's the sugar, it's the sweet things. And there are some days where I just get home and they've had a bad day. And I don't know if you're like me, but you sometimes emotionally eat. Like if you've had a bad day and you're like, fuck it, I just want to eat something crummy because
that's me on pretty much every Saturday.
Yeah, and you want something crummy because you had a bad day,
or from high,
or you're high. Yeah, God, that's the worst. You cannot mix diabetes and smoking, dude, because you get those munchies and you're like, uh-oh. Yeah.
Well, Mike is edibles. I don't even smoke much. It's the edibles.
Just the edibles. Yeah,
and it hits you later in the night. I'm like, So the one thing I will say that has saved me from going over the top is intermittent fasting. I've been telling you about that off air for a little bit now, and because you're familiar with it, obviously. Like, it's basically what it is. You eat in a certain window, and then you don't eat any other sugar or carb for those hours. And the most popular one is 8 hours on, 16 off. Well, I don't know how on off works though, but whatever 8 hour window you eat, you don't eat any carb or sugar for 60 hours. You have water, a coffee with no cream, but other than that, you're fasting. And that I actually. Before, we talked about 3 years before I was diabetic. I had lost about 25, 30 pounds not knowing it. And I started fasting not even on purpose. Yeah. And then I started implementing it. And apparently it's, especially with diabetics, as long as your sugars can drop low, it's highly recommended for diabetics to do fasting. Because it gives you a window of, okay, because you want to, number one, that's actually one of the best ways to stay under a calorie deficit also too, by fasting.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of research. I don't know that it's ever going to be a thing for me just because of years of working out and training my body a certain way. I've gotten so used to consuming a certain amount of calories and eating at certain points of time of the day. My body would rebel on me. But I have done some research on the intermittent fasting, and there are things about it that fascinate me if the science is stable, like talking about how it can actually reset your whole body. Because it's digging into the fat stores because there's nothing else to burn. So it digs into the fat stores, which helps with inflammation in the body, inflammation in the organs, because you're burning away the visceral fat, and which contributes to the inflammation in the organs, which contributes to organ failure and other kinds of diseases. So yeah, it's a very fascinating concept. I don't know that it's anything I'll need to, because I don't need to lose weight. I lost between going on the metformin and changing my diet and exercising. I dropped 12 pounds, which was really
how much you weigh? How much you weigh anyway?
Right now I'm at about 162. My heaviest I was 174. I burn off a bunch of belly fat like within like 2 months. I dropped like 10 pounds. It was crazy.
And you were never overweight?
No, never. Thankfully, I'm built like my dad. My dad's fairly muscular. I didn't get the Italian gene from my mom because my mom was morbidly obese.
Okay.
My dad was always lean and muscular. Some of it was just his genetics, and some of it was the work that he did. He did blue collar work. So, but yeah, my mom had the obese Italian gene, and thankfully I didn't get that. But I did have, an extra 8 to 10 pounds of belly weight that I was like, okay, I need to get rid of this.
Yeah.
But thankfully, like my dad, most of my body weight is muscle. So it was easy for me to drop that. So I find intermittent fasting very fascinating.
It's very fascinating.
It were something that I wanted to try to help with like some of my joint inflammation and things like that, I would possibly try it. But bro, I like to eat. I like my breakfast time. And that would be the only time that I could fast.
And that's when I actually do it. I would do it in the morning. Like with your schedule, like you're in bed by what, like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
Yeah, I'm usually in bed between 9:30 and 10 most.
So you did if you fasted between like 8 and 5, for example, that's 8. That's the 8:16 right there, bro. You know.
Yeah.
And you can just knock out, get your breakfast, eat your meal late, whatever, 4 or 5 o'clock, and then start your fast. And especially too, the fact that they always say that if you go to sleep, you should eat your sleep time and your last meal should be at least 3 to 4 hours apart.
And they usually are. We usually eat around 6, and then we're in bed between 9:30 and 10.
Yeah,
that's the sweet spot for us.
Yeah, and again, it's not for everybody. I mean, it's not for everybody because everybody has different sugar issues. And luckily, I don't have that issue. Metformin isn't good for me. I mean, do you take the extender or you take the 2 a day?
2 a day.
Okay.
By
the way, I had an issue recently where I'm always consistent on my pills at nighttime.
Yeah.
I always forget to take it in the morning.
So
I've been better recently with it now as of late because I keep forgetting that it's a benefit to take the pill because if you take the pill, it does trigger your A1C to drop for your cycle. So so that's my motivation now, is to stay on top of it. How do you? What you say?
I was just going to say with the metformin, my goal is I talked with my doctor last week and he's like, stay on the metformin. He's like, but if your blood sugar drops, cut it back to once a day. If my A1C drops further the next time I have labs, I'm set to do. He gave me 6 months off for good behavior. So I don't do labs again until July.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay.
Yeah. If it drops again, we may talk about cutting it down to once a day and seeing how I do.
Yeah.
I think he was surprised that it dropped like it did because when I started this journey, he immediately prescribed metformin and Ozempic. And I'm like, dude, I'm not doing an injection.
Nope,
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I refuse. I was like, let me do the metformin. I know what to do with my diet and my exercise. I've dealt with this for years, just in working in healthcare. I know what needs to be done. Let me try this. And within 3 months, it dropped from 9.5 to 6.5. And then 3 months later, we were from 6.5 to 5.7. So as long as I can stay the course, tighten it up, keep it tight, keep doing what I'm doing. If I can get it below 5.7, because borderline is 5.6 to 6.5. So I'm literally 1 point away from not even being considered borderline diabetic. So
that's crazy,
if I can just tighten it up a little bit more, stay consistent with the exercise and everything. My goal is to cut the metformin. I want to trial off the metformin twice a day. I want to be on it once a day for a cycle and see how my A1C reacts. If it goes up, we go back on the medication. End of discussion.
Yeah, I'm still ways away from even dropping to 1 right now. they did offer the extender.
Yeah,
but apparently it's not as effective doing the 2 a day.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, well, they said that the metformin it stays in the body for up to 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah,
and then you gotta do it again. So it covers your spikes. I don't know, man. I would like one day to be off the meds, but I'm still ways away from that.
I've resolved myself that if I have to be on them for life, I'm on them for life. It is what it is. But I would like to see what it looks like in real time off the or at least on the medication only once a day.
I heard metformin, there's a lot of benefits to it, though. A lot of good benefits to it. Like apparently it helps skin.
Gut health benefits. I'll have to send you an article. I have a lady friend that I work with she's been diabetic for like 20 years. She sent me, when I started this journey, she sent me a whole bunch of literature. There's one on metformin and gut health. It's actually a really good article. I'll have to find it and send it to you.
Right. So you also work out, like you said, you and I both do the same thing. What is your routine now with working out?
My routine is when I'm healthy and I'm not hacking up a lung. 5 lifting days a week, and I'll rotate. I'll do chest and triceps, back and biceps. I'll rotate those out. 1 day a week, I'll throw like some CrossFit type stuff. 6 days a week, I'm on the treadmill. Like I'll do my lifting. I'll come in, I'll do my 30 minutes on the incline on the treadmill, and then I'm good.
Do you walk, right? You don't run, you don't jog?
No, I don't run. I can't run. My knees can't do it anymore.
Okay, so you walk
I do a walk.
3.7, you said, right?
3.8 is usually my speed. It's a good brisk walk.
Very good brisk. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very brisk walk at an incline.
Do you do cardio first or do you do weights first?
Weights first. The studies that I've read suggest doing the weights first and then the cardio for the max benefit.
Especially if you're focused, because I read about it last night too, also on ChatGPT. Especially if you're focused on strength training, which
yes,
I know both of us are.
Yes.
Weights first.
Yes.
Because then once those arteries open up, from the lifting, then when you start walking, it has a nice little nice flow into the open arteries. So yeah.
Yep.
So you your sessions, like, do you go long? Because one thing I'm learning, one buddy of mine, he's saying that going to the gym for an hour, 2 hours at a time, is actually really overrated, and you actually overworking your body.
Yes. Now, years ago, in the last decade, I was putting in 2.5 hour workouts. Like, I was getting up, dude, it got mental at one point. I was getting up at like 3:30 in the morning, going to the gym. This was before I had a gym in my garage. I would get up at like 3:30 in the morning, go to the gym, work out until like 5:30, 6 o'clock, shower, and go to work. And I would do that 4 or 5 days a week. It was mental. As I've done more research and I've gone on this journey like you have, more and more people are saying, yeah, you're overtraining. You're doing too much. You only have to do a certain amount because you're basically, what's the term? It's hypertrophy. You're trying to get the muscles into hypertrophy. You're trying to get them to break down without hurting yourself. And you can do that with 3 to 4 good sets of one exercise per muscle group. And so now it's 45 minutes to maybe an hour, depending, because sometimes I'll spend, because I'm old and you got to stretch.
Does that include cardio?
No. That's just my lifting. My lifting is anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour lifting. But keep in mind, that's not all lifting, because I was getting ready to say, as we get older, the other thing we need to do is stretch. So I probably spend a good 10 to 15 minutes of that just stretching.
Right.
Just stretching, getting myself stretched out. The actual lifting is probably between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on which muscle group I'm working and what workouts I'm doing. If I'm doing CrossFit, it's 30 minutes. And then I get on the treadmill. So it's of lifting 30 to 45 minutes, and then it's 30 solid minutes on the treadmill.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my workouts are about an hour and a half total with everything.
Yeah. So I noticed with me, the gym I have in my development here, like there's like a bunch of like upper body machines to work on. So I'll take more time doing that.
Yeah.
With lower body, there's only 3. There's the leg extensions. There's the one for your hamstrings. And then there's the one that's the you sit and you extender. Leg press. Which I love that. Probably my favorite, because my back loves it. My lower back fucking loves it because it stretches it out real nice. So, and when I do that leg press, the last hold, I'll let it hold for a couple seconds longer just to kind of get that stretch in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the fucking best, bro. Yeah, I can get mental when I want to with that stuff, bro. But then my buddy of mine who's like, he's like my wife's life coach now, because like he's like overly strict. Like he eats pretty much almost no carbs now. He's been strict for like 3-4 years now, and he's very, very well researched. He's the one that told me yesterday, because we were talking about working out. He's like, this is a guy he's to bodybuild. He says, you don't need a long ass time in the gym now. You like, not only that, the gym's overrated too. Also, you can do all workouts on your own. In fact, they say sometimes it's better to work out using your body's resistance as opposed to like the machines, because the machines, in some ways, they keep you limited and restricted because there's only a certain motion you can do there on the machines. Whereas if you use your own body as resistance, it's actually healthier for your body in the long term also too, and it's just better. And you can shorter workouts.
Why I do a lot of push-ups, I do a lot of planks.
Yes, I was going to ask about that. How do you do your planks?
Like, without demonstrating, it's
no. What I'm saying is like, because I'm learning there's different ones. So years ago, I used to be able to do like a 2-minute plank at one time.
Yeah.
Without stopping. But I'm learning again. This is why I love reading now. I'm learning now that if you do, how do I plank now? I do like, I'll plank for 2 minutes, right? But I'll do 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, and keep going until I have the 30 minutes of planking time, actually. So it works out to like 3 minutes, two and a half minutes, 3 minutes. But they say that if you do it that way, it's actually better for your body because it actually spikes your system a lot more. If you get multiple hits to the system.
It does. It hits the whole body. I usually do my planks are usually the last thing I do. It's like a final burnout of whatever was left in there for my workout. It's the last thing I do. And I usually just go for as long as I can. I was on the cruise. I pushed myself. I did a 4-minute plank. I have never in my life done a 4-minute plank. My best was 3 minutes and 32 seconds, like a month prior to that. But I'm on there. I was feeling good. I was like, you know what? Let me try this. All the machines, there was nothing I could do. Everything was tied up. I'd done my 30 on the treadmill. I was like, I want to do a plank. I got in plank position and I held it. And about the 2-minute mark, I was feeling really good. I'm like, all right, let's keep it rolling. Got to the 3-minute mark and I started really shaking. I'm like, no, fuck this. We're going to push through. And I did. As 4 minutes and 3 seconds, I think, was my plank on that second day that I worked out on the cruise. I was like, fuck yeah.
And you did 4 minutes straight, no pause,
straight,
nothing,
no
right?
stop.
Wow.
4 minutes straight. 4 minutes straight.
So you definitely do plyometrics then.
I do plyometrics and a lot of push-ups. There's again, so you got to think about it. Push-ups are similar to a plank. You're using your whole body. Your legs are bracing. Your core is bracing. You're engaging the triceps. You're engaging the chest. You're engaging the shoulders. Push-ups are highly underrated as a workout, man.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Absolutely throw those into your routine, especially on chest day.
That's interesting. No, I actually enjoy planks, man.
Yeah, I love planking.
But I have to be distracted, so I have to have headphones on. I'll throw on some headphones, run the clock. I'll throw in some music or a podcast or reading a book, and it's kind of lose myself for like 2 minutes.
Yeah. See, for me, my workouts, I break up by what I listen to because I actually hate the walking. It's boring to me. Like I get bored on the treadmill, the walking. Yeah. So when I work out, when I lift or I do plyometrics, it's music. Like I have a heavy metal Spotify playlist. That's my workout playlist. I put that on there. When I'm on the treadmill, it's podcast because it burns the time quicker.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
No, that's real. It's true.
Podcast, and it actually burns the 30 minutes quicker than when I was listening to music. Because in music, you're going from song to song. I was like, okay, I know in my head, and because this is just the dumb OCD thing that I do, this song is 4 minutes and 37 seconds long. So I'm like ticking down the minutes, even though I enjoyed this. Okay, this song's 7 minutes and 11 seconds long. Yeah. So no, but when I'm just listening to a podcast, I'm listening to the conversation. Next thing I know, 27 minutes is gone.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah. Again, today's much easier to enjoy. There's no excuses to not be able to work out at a minimum.
Right.
But there's so much distraction you can have. Books, like I said, podcast, music, doesn't matter, man. So, let's ask about this. So you were, not people don't know this, unless you listen to other shows, but you have a background in pro wrestling. Actually, you actually were a wrestler, right?
Yes. Back.
How long ago was that?
A long time ago, brother. It was from, I'm trying to remember the exact dates. I think it was late 96 or early 97 to somewhere in 2000. So it was about a 2 to 4 year period of time. It wasn't, and the latter half of it was kind of off and on for a bunch of various reasons.
Right. So what got you into the business? Like, want to do that?
Okay, so this is a story. We've got some time here. So, like most people of my age who got into the wrestling business, the story starts off the same. Me and my friends were wrestling on the lawn. Okay,
right.
So we were all lawn guys. We had a whole federation and gimmicks, and it was a whole bunch of shit. There was. In the 90s, the indie wrestling scene was not a thing. You had WWF at the time, WCW was still big, and ECW was still kind of doing its thing. So they were really the big three. The indie promotions were there, but it was so outlaw. Like it really was. It was like, so when those things peaked, indie wrestling started to make a little bit of a comeback in my area in Florida. And there was a local wrestling promotion called Coastal Championship Wrestling.
Right.
That is actually still around under a different owner and in an entirely different spot in Florida now. But this guy ran a show at the Palm Bay Civic Center, and I didn't even know about it. And this one guy that I wrestled on the lawn with went to the show, and this guy, Sean, of all of us,
right.
One, he was the biggest bullshit artist of all of us. And two, he was the biggest carny out of all of us. If anybody could have actually made it in pro wrestling, aside from the fact that he didn't have an athletic bone in his body and he actually sucked in the ring, he was a bullshit artist. He went to the show, met some of the wrestlers, somehow or another convinced them that we were actual wrestlers because his dumb ass was like telling them about the stuff we did on the lawn, which is a no-no in the wrestling business. Right. So he has them convinced, hey, we're real wrestlers. So like, oh, really? I said, well, you know what? We've got a guy. He has a school down in Fort Pierce. Why don't you come down there? So Sean comes back to the lawn show. He's like, hey, I met this guy. They've got a school, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, there's a wrestling school within an hour drive of me. I'm like, okay, I got to find out what this is about. Mm-hmm. So I pile up in a car with a bunch of guys. About a week or two later, we go down to Fort Pierce, Florida, and we go in there, and there's a real wrestling ring in this little sweaty ass, basically like a big storage unit warehouse type thing. It's a big regular wrestling ring in there. We go in there, we meet this guy named Cliff Anderson. Cliff runs the school. And Cliff he may actually be in the WWE catalog because WWE owns WCW and most of its TV stuff. And Cliff did some job work for WCW back in the day. So he had this school and he's like, all right, well, real Southern accent. I'm not even going to try and duplicate it. So he's like, all right, so what do you guys know? And we all just kind of looked at him, and it took him about 2 minutes to realize we were all full of shit and nobody knew anything. So
how old did this happen?
Let's see. If this was 97, I was about 24.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, I was about 24 years old. So Cliff's like, all right, look, here's the deal. He's like, I run the school. If you want to learn from me, I'll teach you if you want to learn. If I think you suck, I'll tell you. He's like, this is how much it costs. You be here on Tuesdays, you be here on Thursdays, and sometimes on Sundays if I don't go out drinking Saturday. He's like, if you want to do it, I'll teach you. He's like, but I'm going to teach you to be safe. He's like, I ain't going to teach you that lucha shit in here. You want to learn the lucha shit, you go somewhere else. And funny thing was, one of the guys in this little group that I ended up hanging out with was one Jamie Noble. And Jamie did what Cliff considered the lucha shit. Because, if you think about Jamie Noble, guys like him, Shane Helms, Jerry Lynn, all those guys were kind of the pioneers to this modern wrestling style that we enjoy today. For guys like Seth Rollins and, Ricochet and Ospreay and people like that, they were kind of the early pioneers of all that stuff. And that's what Cliff considered the lucha shit. And Cliff taught you the old school Southern style wrestling, which is what he trained.
Basically on the ground.
Yeah, basically on the ground. He taught you how to work, like how to. Right. So he's like, I'll teach you how to work, how to protect yourself. So we go in there day one, and dude, I took my first back bump, and I was like, what the hell have I got myself into? Because this ring was stiff. It wasn't a trampoline. There was no spring underneath. So we went.
It really hurts, huh?
It hurts. Really hurts. It hurts a lot. It hurts a lot. We all left like, do we really want to come back next week? And Cliff was probably convinced that none of our, because, dude, I was 140 pounds.
So why did you go back then?
Because I fucking loved it. Okay. And I was determined. At this point, I was like, wait, this is a real wrestling ring. I could actually do this because I've been watching wrestling ever since I was a kid. And one of the few dreams that I ever had as a kid was play bass guitar in a rock band, wrestle. Like professional, like WWF, WWE, professional wrestling. One of my dreams was literally standing in front of me. So I'm like, okay, I got to at least try this. So the first time I tried to take a back bump, it was horrible. It just didn't work out. Went home, threw an old bed mattress out on the lawn, and started practicing the bumps for the next week. The next week, me and Eddie, this guy Sean, who actually is the one who bullshitted us into this, all went back, and Cliff was like, oh, you guys came back. So from there, we started training.
Yeah, you took it seriously after that.
We took it seriously after that. Cliff's like, wait, these guys aren't kidding. So he trained us, and, we got in there and, started learning. And, in the problem for me was I didn't get to train as much as I wanted to because Clegg said they trained Tuesdays, Thursdays, and if Cliff didn't go drinking Saturday, we were there on Sundays. I was working a job, and this wrestling thing could not have come up at a worse possible time in my life.
What?
Because, like I said, I'm 24, going on 25 years old. I had just landed a job. I was working at the hospital in the cafeteria, and I landed a supervisor position and was making what I consider now still to be piss poor money. But at 25 years old, when I was going from a minimum wage job to now making more money than I've ever made in my life,
right,
my schedule wasn't allowing for me to go to the wrestling school. Because the way the schedule worked, I worked from like usually 11 in the morning to like 7 at night. And they left to go to the school at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
So every now and then I'd get like the rare Tuesday or the Thursday, like once a week, once every couple of weeks, I could go 1 or 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get to go as frequently as I would have liked to early on. And, but I was progressing. I was picking it up. I was learning it. I was actually doing really, really well for the time that I was able to go. And Cliff was impressed with that, which is why he kept me coming. But it was just, I was in this spot where I'm making really good money. And right now, this wrestling thing is a hole. I'm spending money in gas. I'm spending money for the school. So I don't want to, do I quit this really good job that I'm doing to go back to a schedule that will allow me to go do the wrestling thing full time, or do I stay with the job? So I was like, I just kind of balanced it as best I could.
Right.
So Eddie was in it much deeper than I was. Eddie started working shows much sooner than I did. So from there, as I got a little further along, and again, I'm a little guy. Remember, I'm only 5'8", and at the time I was 140 pounds. There was a ceiling for 5'8", 140-pound guys in 1997, 1998. Absolutely. And that was manager. So I was like, you and I have talked on your show and mine how much we respect the managers and how much I appreciate what their role was. Yeah. I wanted to wrestle. Like if I was going to commit to this, I wanted to be a wrestler and I wanted to take it seriously and I wanted the wrestlers to take me seriously. My ceiling was manager. So I started as one. I started as Eddie's manager, my friend Eddie. Right. We started doing that. Cliff booked me on a show. My first show, coincidentally, was at the O'Galley Civic Center. Yeah. I came out as his manager. And it was wonderful. We actually worked Jamie Noble. Our first match was Jamie Noble under a hood. He came out. He actually worked twice that night. He worked once under a hood and then worked once as himself as somebody else.
Yeah.
So that was really how the whole thing got started. It was just some guy bullshitted his way in, and we found ourselves in a wrestling school.
And did a couple of years.
We did.
Becoming a dad ended that for you, right?
No, what ended that? Okay, so, God, things were going pretty well. But, again, I had this job, and I wasn't able to commit to going on the road and committing to being a full-time wrestler. So I missed a lot of shows, a lot of opportunities. I worked the shows that I could. And there were a few times where I would actually go on the road and make some towns and do some things. So there was a commitment for me, but it wasn't that full-time, you got to pay your dues and live in your car. And I like to eat and I need money, to pay my bills. So I was more committed to the full-time job. I remember the day everything for me kind of changed because, again, I'm a little guy in a big guy world trying to prove to myself. And while all the guys knew I could work, I could cut a hell of a promo. Like I could get the crowd fired up and get heat on me pretty easily. So the guys knew all that. But again, there's a mentality in the wrestling business amongst guys who have been there for a long time, and they look at the greener guys a certain way. And like nobody ever disrespected me. And there were a couple times where, because like I'm a little guy, but if you push me, I can fight. Yeah. I can fight. And if somebody tries to get cute with me in the ring, I can snatch them up real quick because I also wrestled in high school a little bit. So I know a few shoot moves that if somebody wants to get cute, I can wrap them in something and say, look, I'm a little guy, but don't fuck with me. Right. So there wasn't a whole lot of that. But I remember the day we did a show in Fort Pierce, and we were supposed to wrestle. It was, again, Eddie was doing the Fast Eddie pizza delivery guy, and I was his manager. Mm-hmm. Right. Cliff was bringing in a guy from Malenko's. Dean Malenko had a school over on the West Coast, and Cliff and him used to send talent back and forth. So a Malenko guy was supposed to come over and work us. We were booked. We were on the show to wrestle him. Well, he didn't show. He went to a different booking for more money. So Cliff had to change the card. So he's like, all right, we're going to do the thing where Fast Eddie's going to turn on Guido and you guys are going to wrestle. Mm-hmm. So my first official match, technically it was my second. No, this was my first match. I take it back. My first official match was against Eddie. We kind of called everything in the back. We go out in the ring. We had a 6-7 minute match. I've got video of it somewhere. I'll have to edit it and send it to you at some point. We did botch one spot in the ring, but we covered it pretty quickly. But because we'd run this venue before, people knew us. They were invested in the gimmick. We had heat. We had heat as heels. And then when Eddie came out and turned on me and cut this big promo against me, suddenly I'm the biggest baby face in the fucking room.
Right.
So he calls me out to the ring and said, you and I'm tired of it because every time I get in a match, I lose because Guido cost me something stupid, blah, 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 blah. He calls me out. I come out to the ring, blow the roof off the place. We have our match. The end of the match, the fucking place explodes. Okay? Right. Mm-hmm. Just blew the roof. And I'm nobody. I've been in the business at this point less than a year. I'm still green as goose shit. I go back to the back, and this dude I forget his shoot name, but he was called the Black Nature Boy. Super cool dude. He and I always got along real good. Think Cedric Alexander is what this guy was back then. Super good looking, in great shape, great worker. Mm-hmm. He comes running out as I'm coming back to the back because, again, we blew the roof off the place. He comes and he's like, damn, I was coming out to see who they were popping for. He goes, oh, it was you. And I'm like, fuck. There's no way I'm going to get these guys respect. I just went out here, and while my match from a bell-to-bell standpoint was not the best match of the night, the segment was the hottest one of the night because the people were invested in what we were doing.
How big was the crowd?
And I was proud of the moment, and I'm to this day, I'll die on that hill. I'm proud of that moment. It's one of the most proud, aside from my kids being born, it's probably the most proud I've ever been in my life. It was just awesome feeling. Everything was great. But I looked around, I read the room, and I'm like, I don't know about this. So I kept doing it. I did a few more shows, but I had gotten into the career that I'm in now, ophthalmology. Now I'm looking at things a little differently. I'm like, okay, the supervisor thing at the hospital was what it was, but this is a career. This is a thing. This is something that I can take with me for the rest of my life. Wrestling still isn't making me a dime. It's actually costing me money. What do I want to do? So I took a break, and then Eddie got hurt. So Eddie took a break. So we took a break together, and then he actually got into ophthalmology with me, and we got into this together, and we started doing our thing. Well, we started to get the itch. He's healthy again. I'm getting the itch. I'm in pretty good shape. I was like, why don't we go back down to Cliff's? Let's talk to Cliff again, because we kept in contact with Cliff, and Cliff was always good with us. Mm-hmm. So we went back down there, and I remember we took about 6 months off, and before we left, he'd gotten a new crop of students in. And there was this one kid who had been an amateur wrestler in high school. And we remember the day he started, we left, we took 6 months off, we came back and looked around, and something in the school had changed. The air of the place, and this kid, he hadn't learned a damn thing. Mm. And it wasn't him. It was the teaching environment. It was the way Cliff was running the school. It was the other people that Cliff had in his ear, because there were a couple other things that fell apart, that actually affected me and Eddie, and actually affected a friendship that probably would still be going today if it hadn't happened the way it happened. But I'm looking around, and this kid hasn't learned anything, and most of the kids that started when we did either hadn't learned anything or had dropped out. Right. So Eddie and I got in there. We worked a little bit with these new guys. He and I worked each other a little bit. But at the end of the day, he and I left, and he's like, no. He's like, I think I'm done. And we talked about that. We talked about, this kid hasn't learned anything. Something's changed with Cliff. I still loved him, still respected him. The guy gave us a hell of an opportunity, but just something was different. And we both made the decision at that point, look, we have a real career in front of us with this ophthalmology thing. Eddie's already hurt his neck, which was a scare. Especially being 20, he's a year younger than me. So he was being 24 going on 25. he's like, I'm beating myself up here. What am I doing? And I have this thing. So we both unanimously made the decision together. We got into it together and we got right back out of it together.
Wow. You don't regret it, do you?
Yes and no. And you and I have talked about this through text. There are times where I look at it, I'm like, especially now that guys my size are the regular on TV.
Yep.
Like there are guys who aren't much bigger than me and guys that like Jamie Noble. I'm taller than Jamie Noble. I'm not a tall guy, but I'm taller than Jamie Noble. And Jamie Noble didn't go on to have this ultra huge career, but he's in a damn fine spot. Mm-hmm. And when I look at what I had learned and what I was capable of doing, do I think I would have been a multi-time Intercontinental U.S. Championship tag champion? Probably not. But could I have been Jamie Noble? 100%. Could I have been in the spot that Jamie Noble's in right now? Absolutely. And there are days when I think about it and I'm like, wonder what I could have done had I stuck it out, because WCW was still a thing. And Cliff had real close ties to WCW. So I could have gotten in and at least gotten on WCW Saturday night and done some job work for them.
What's the power plant, man?
It could have gone to the power plant. I easily and the gimmick that Eddie and I were doing was 100% something they would have put on TV in WCW back in late 1990s. Right. Even if we were just doing jobs for anybody on TV, they would have put that on TV because it was stupid, ridiculous wrestling gimmick. And
your story sounds very similar to mine. With yours was wrestling, mine was music.
Yeah.
So, and same age range, because I was mid-20s. I was in a metal band that we were getting serious. We're trying to get signed, all this stuff. But then things happen. I think in my case, two things happened. Number one, career. Number two, my now wife. And that went to the next level. And I was starting to look at things differently in terms of our future and whatnot. And then being in a band requires you go on the road for a long period of time. I mean in the metal band too, also where your most of your income comes from merch, comes from CD sales on the road, that requires you to be on the road for an extended period of time. and she had told me in the past that she'd never want to date someone who's a musician or a cop or a firefighter because they do dangerous jobs and away for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, I didn't want to be with her. So I made a decision to, I could have still did the band as much as we could, but because one guy he ended up going to a signed band for a little while, the guitar player. We knew that half the band wanted to continue trying to push this thing. And while I want to push this thing, I also had other things that I started prioritizing, which is my wife and then my job, which I still have to this day. I started doing more management stuff there, so I was getting a little serious. We weren't talking about having a family yet at that point, but I knew at that point I wanted to be with her forever. So eventually we got married a couple years later, and then we had to kill children. But I always look back. Do I regret ending that? I actually don't regret it. I don't. I really don't regret it. Like I miss it. I get nostalgic about it, but I don't regret it, honestly.
Yeah. I don't regret it. Like I said, ophthalmology has been wonderful to me, and I'm in such a wonderful position in life right now because of the road that I chose.
What is ophthalmology, by the way, for the listeners? What
It's
does that cover?
Eye doctors.
Okay.
Eye doctors.
Okay.
It's kind of surgery and glasses and things like that. But I miss the performing. And one of the things that I found very odd, because when I got into the wrestling business, I had no illusions about, again, my size, being my biggest mitigating factor in the whole thing. Right. I just wanted to entertain people. I wanted to make people feel. I didn't give a shit if you ever put the belt on me. It was never about going in and winning championships, anything like that. It was going in because I was still looking at it from a fan perspective. What did I like as a fan? And as a fan, what do I want to see the performers do? Yeah. And that's what I tried to do when I was out there. And take chances, try and get the people riled up. They paid to see you. I wasn't none of that, but some of those guys were just they took it differently. It was, and again, the environment is much different in 2025 than it was in 97. It was very, very toxic back then. Like I said, there were a lot of guys who had done job work for WCW and WWE, who felt like they should have been given more from the business because they gave so much. And maybe they felt that way for a reason. And maybe there's a certain amount of entitlement there that you earn. But for me, I never stopped looking at it as a fan. Like, people paid to come see us. Right. As long as you pay me to be here, I'm going to give these people what they paid to see. And if I'm the bad guy, they paid to see me get my ass kicked. Right. And if I'm the good guy, they paid to see me kick the bad guy's ass.
Right.
That's, to me, that was fundamentally all I wanted out of it, was for people to have a good time and enjoy. I didn't care. You can pin me 392 days a year.
Yep.
I didn't care about that.
You're playing a role. You're playing a role.
Yeah, I'm playing a role. Pin me every night of the week as long as you pay me. I don't give a shit. Does it feel cool to win and the fans go, yay, Rock, Guido won, woohoo, we love it. Yeah, it feels cool. It's a cool moment, man. That night that Eddie and I wrestled and I pinned him, coolest fucking moment I've ever been through in my life, to listen to that crowd, because it literally happened in sections, because he spent the whole match beating my ass. And then in the last minute, he goes for a thing, and there's like this escalation in the crowd. They're like, wait a minute. Holy shit, he won.
They're attached to the story.
They're attached to the story. And it's something you cannot, like, it's hard to put it into words how cool the moment was when you finally hit the finish and you get the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, it's cool. But I never cared about winning. It was never about being the guy who got his hand raised all the time. It was about that reaction from the crowd. And if we had gotten that reaction with Eddie pinning me, it would have been just as fucking cool.
That's amazing. Do you still talk to him?
Oh, Eddie and I are still best friends.
Oh, nice. Cool.
To this day. Yeah. He and I are still back. So I'm going to go book. I got to text him tomorrow and do a lunch with him on Tuesday. Nice. Yeah. He and I still talk. He still talks to a couple of the guys. The only one that I wished I'd kept in contact with and things hadn't fallen apart was Jamie Noble, because Jamie was a super cool dude. Super cool. Taught me a lot, because he already had about 2 or 3 years in the business when we met him. But Jamie taught me a lot in the ring, did a lot of stuff with me. He liked working with me because I was a smaller guy and he could muscle me around a little bit, because he was fitter than I was. He had more muscle at the time than I did, but he was shorter. So he and I worked really well. He was
luchador.
He was luchador guy. Yeah, he was luchador guy. So, but yeah, it was just.
Did you guys both watch WWE at the same time also too? When you guys are watching the shit together?
We did. That's actually how I met Eddie and all them, and how we fell into this whole wrestling thing. I met him in '94, and through a mutual friend. And the mutual friend and I had watched wrestling for years, and that's all of a sudden I'm in this group of people who just watch wrestling, and we used to get the pay-per-views every night, and then we did the Monday Night Wars with 2 TVs and flipping back and forth. And
is he still into it? Is he still into it now?
Yeah, he still watches.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
He still watches regularly.
So it's real passion. It's real passion.
It is. It's a real passion. Yeah. And it's funny because much like I do with modern wrestling now, he still watches it sometimes like a worker.
Yeah.
And I got to remind myself, like, dude, it's not the same business.
No, it's different.
It's changed and evolved, so it's cleaner. It's just a different business now than it was when I was in, which is why it's hard for me to watch some modern wrestling. Like, I can appreciate the athleticism. Mm-hmm. Like, I could never do the shit that Ricochet and Ospreay and guys like that do. Could not.
Right.
But I still find myself critiquing certain parts of what they do. Like, nope, I wouldn't have done that. Why isn't he doing this? And so it's just and I have to shut my brain off sometimes and say, DJ, just watch it as a fan. Just shut up and watch it. Enjoy it, right? Supposed to. Yeah.
The same with me when I go to a concert and I hear a band play, I'm like, that sounds good, but that was out of key. It's like, yeah. I'm one of those. I just enjoy the fucking process, dude. Just enjoy taking the music. You pay money for these tickets. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I've been by the way, I've been one thing out here. I've been going through this. One of my big obsessions lately, though, is I've been watching the story ups on WWE.
Yeah.
Like, they break down a storyline or a wrestler's year or a couple of years, whatever. So I've been going through, like, I told you a couple days ago, like, I watched AJ Styles recently, his debut, the 1 year. But right now I'm going through, like, the rabbit hole of the Undertaker. Like, I'm actually going back. So his story, I believe, is like 7 chapters in there.
Oh wow!
There's like chapter 1 is like the first 2 years, and then the chapter 2 is the next 2 years, and the next 3, and then the next 2. And So I'm now on chapter, I think 3 or 4. I'm at 1996 right now, but I'm sludging through the era. So obviously, when you go through that, you start the Hulkmania era in 1990, but you also have to sludge through the fucking New Generation era.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you, like, was it bad? Yes, but was there opportunity to be good? Also, yes. There's some real good talent and some real good things. Like, for all the bad we give the New Generation era of WWE, there is some good shit in there if you really pay attention.
Some of the in-ring stuff was never better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the in-ring, I got Brett, the top of the card, and you, me, and Rob talked about this in the text. The top of the card to the upper mid card was loaded with talent.
Yep.
You know, between Brett and Owen and Sean and the Bulldog and Razor and a few other couple people that wandered in and out, the lower card was the shits. The tag team division was abysmal.
Oh my God, it was almost non-existent, I think, for a while.
Pretty much non-existent. Like, they were slapdashing. Like, but when you get to the point where you've got Owen Hart and Yokozuna in a tag team together trying to lock it down, that's when you know your tag team division's in the shitter. You know, so yeah. But some of the in-ring stuff was superb. It was really, really good stuff.
I think I identified what the problem was. The era. It was Vince. It was identity, because it wasn't like a talent. Okay, you lose Hogan and, these guys get older. Okay, we get that. But you got Brett, you got Sean, you got Taker, you got Razor, you name it. You got a lot of talent there, a lot of personalities there. But Vince didn't want to let go to the formula. He wanted to still have the characters and the creative, cartoony. And it took Vince about 6-7 years before he said, you know what, I got to go schmut whatever to save my company.
Yeah.
So I think Vince held that company back in the 90s, not the wrestlers.
He did. And there have been candidly conversations about that. Like, people like, well, all the stupid gimmicks, like the TL Hoppers and the Duke the Drosies and all the stuff. And people were just looking at him like, Vince, what are you doing? Nobody wants to see this shit. And he was insistent on putting it on TV. Yeah. I think some of that may have been knee jerk because he was trying to make it look as family friendly as possible. But remember, this period of time, he's coming out of the steroids trial.
Yeah.
So he's really trying to revamp the image of WWE. And in his own head, I think he thought that's what he was doing. And meanwhile, you've got Brett in his ear trying to convince him, hey, look, let me give people wrestling. People want to see wrestling. It's what they paid to see. So you had a difference in philosophies between him and Brett, which is why I think he never fully committed to Bret Hart and why he was so dead set and hell bent on Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels ended up being a fine talent and every bit his own legend. But I think that's where Vince and Bret really, that to me, the difference in philosophies is what
the yin and yang.
The yin, the yang. Guys. Yeah.
No, but it wasn't a bad era, man. Like if there's some good shit there. Like, I will say this, obviously some things Taker did in the '94 with Bundy and Kama and for record, I a lot of that stuff I didn't watch because that's my first time I was out. 94, 95, I was out.
Yeah,
so there's some weird things in there, but all the weird things out there, there's some good there too. Also, I don't know. Are you excited for WrestleMania season now?
I am. Interestingly enough, the card is going to be really difficult because the injuries just keep mounting. Braun Breaker's injured now. Chelsea Green just broke her ankle.
Right? That's not a work.
No, I think that's a legitimate injury.
Okay.
I think that's legit. It's something that's been for a while, but I guess he just aggravated it again. He just had surgery. Chelsea Green broke her ankle. It looked like she was getting ready to get she literally happened Friday night on SmackDown, I think.
Oh, my God.
She just posted today she broke her ankle. She'd been walking around in a boot. She was supposed to work a AAA show over the weekend and team up with Ethan Page. Mm-hmm. But somebody else had to take her spot. I don't remember who that was. Because she was in a walking boot. But she posted today officially a broken ankle. She's out at least 3 months. So she's going to miss WrestleMania, which sucks because she was in the middle of a push that looked like it might guarantee her a spot on the WrestleMania card, which I think of anybody in WWE right now, Chelsea Green is one of the most deserving.
It's funny because Rob and I were just talking about it on the show we did a couple weeks ago. And the question was, could you see her as a top girl in the company? And
today, yeah.
I said that maybe not necessarily traditionally speaking, because you said the Rheas and the Biancas, but can I see her having a little bit of a run with the belt a couple months? Absolutely.
100%. No reason why they shouldn't.
But she is also a phenomenal mid-carder too. Also, she's actually saving the mid-card for the ladies right now.
She is. And you need people like that on your roster. So many people get hung up on world title or bust.
Right.
And no, you need somebody like Chelsea Green who can lock down that mid-card, because Chelsea Green, whether she's in an IC championship match or a world championship match or just a random match on TV, people are going to watch Chelsea Green because she's ridiculous and she's fun. So she elevates anybody else she's in the ring with. And so you need that. Not everybody has to have the world championship. And that's such a frustration with me, because they'll act like somebody will leave WWE. And I'll use Ricochet as my example. People will act like Ricochet, and depending on what you believe, if he's working a gimmick or not, Ricochet will tell you that his WWE main roster career didn't mean shit. To me, it meant the world, because Ricochet was on TV all the time. I enjoyed seeing him, and he elevated whatever segment he was in. To me, that role is equally as important as a 7-time IZ champ or a 4-time WWE champ.
Yeah,
it's just as important. Don't.
I think it's better because of how he was treated by Vince.
Yeah, that's probably it. And by that point, I think the damage was done by the time Triple H took over. I think he was mentally out the door for a couple of years, and it just at that point, it's like, look, I got to get out of here and do something else, which I respect. And I've said that on my podcast. Look, there are plenty of options for wrestlers to go and get paid. AEW is a big one. If you're not happy at your job, get out. I'm always, whether I like a talent, whether I agree with their assessment of their working environment or not, I am always pro talent when it comes to that stuff. If you're not happy at work, get out.
Yeah.
Totally always pro talent.
Are you excited about Roman Punk Mania match?
Very much so. Okay. Very much so. Yeah,
there's a story there. There's a story there.
There's a real story there, and that's the type of stuff that sells wrestling matches.
And that's going to break the third wall. I think. Because I think a lot of people who, like myself, who wasn't watching in 2014 when Punk left.
Yeah.
Because initially I was like, oh, Roman and Punk, okay, whatever. But I realized I'm more excited about the story leading to the match than the match itself, honestly.
Yeah, I think the match will be fine. I think the match will be good. I think, but the story is what's got me roped in, because I was right about that time period when I came back to watching WWE.
Right.
And I got a year or two of Punk, and then he was gone. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Because he's one of the reasons why I came back, or why I stuck around. I came back for Rock and Cena, but CM Punk was one of the reasons why I stuck around.
Stayed. Right.
I stayed for CM Punk, and then he was gone. I'm like, well, what the hell is this? So, and then, Roman obviously building himself up into, damn near a Mount Rushmore talent. This match has me.
Speaking of Roman too, also, one of the things I watched recently too, also with my son, was Roman's post Shield work. So they have a story of Roman circa 2014 to 2015.
Yeah. I
got to tell you, Roman pre 2020 is borderline unwatchable.
There's a lot of bad stuff in there. There was a time when that era.
Okay, go ahead. I'll tell you
that era. I was not locked in on Roman Reigns. I didn't dial in on Roman Reigns completely until him and AJ Styles. I started to see the vision and I forget, was it WrestleMania 33 where we had the heist with Seth Rollins cashing in?
31.
It was 31. When that match with him and Brock is when I was like, okay, I see the vision with this kid, but I still don't see the whole package yet.
Yeah.
I saw the whole package. AJ Styles had to drag it out of him. And now we're here. But yeah, for a while there, I was not locked in on Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins has always been my favorite Shield man.
True. But the thing is for me is because I agree with what you're saying there, it's not that it wasn't good stuff. He was doing good stuff. The reason why it's unwatchable for me is because he's just so much better post 2020.
Yes.
He makes that hard to watch because it's two different guys.
It is. Yeah, very much. Very, very accurate, spot on assessment. It is two different guys. It's like he's so locked in now.
Because you know why? He's his natural self. And Vince overcoaching a little bit.
Yep.
Instead of letting him be who he has to be, this Roman is, and it's funny now because now we've got it in these 6 years of this, head of the table run, OTC.
Yeah.
you got both sides. You got in the obviously the dastardly heel for 4 years, but the last 2 years it's been babyface.
Yeah,
and it's still effective
because it's authentic. They say your best gimmicks are basically you dialed up to 11.
Yeah.
You know, you look at The Rock. The Rock, that's authentically him dialed up to 11. Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's authentically him dialed up to 11.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. So I watched Roman pre-2020. It's like, this is weird. He looks like a different person to me because Roman post-2020 is a completely different human being, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, anything? I think we hit everything here. Did we hit everything? I think we did. I'm looking at the list of things
We hit all the points? Okay.
Hit all the points, man. So great job as always, man. Love you out again, of course, talk about whatever.
This was a lot of fun.
Yes. Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you can listen to myself, Rob, and Jason on the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. We drop on the Chairshot Radio Network just about every weekend. Also, my little side project, 30 Mindless Minutes. Took a couple weeks off because of the cruise, because of being sick. We're coming back this week. Tina and I are going to give a more in-depth analysis on ShipRocked. Got a few other episodes that I'm getting ready to put together, so I've got that going on there. If you're inclined and you want to follow me on that cesspool of an app formerly known as Twitter, you can find me at the Mindless Pod.
Yeah, obviously my wrestling is awesome, but 30 Mindless Minutes is incredible. Like you had me on the show, you had your co-host, I think Jason on the show one time.
Yep.
Of course, your girlfriend's on the show too. Also,
yep.
All great episodes, man. I truly enjoyed it. Truly enjoy it.
That.
So definitely check out all his work there, of course, on the Chairshot Radio Network. And until the next one, guys, take care.